By the end of this video, you're gonna learn 7 reasons why it's hard to play against a partnership like us. Because I'm a righty and Tanner's a lefty, and you might not always play with the lefty, as we're going through this video, everything you're gonna learn is still valuable because you will play against righty-lefty combos, and you'll wanna know what's in this video so you can use this stuff against your opponent. So the first reason it's hard to beat a team like Tanner and I, who are a righty-lefty combo, is the shake and bait. So here's what that is. When Tanner serves, return comes in, and Tanner goes to drive, boom, pause. Because he hits a drive, I'm a crashing player, and now I have my forehand here in the middle. In the same light, if Tanner serves the ball and the return comes to me, and I drive it, pause. Tanner has his left hand in the middle, which makes this very difficult. If it's 2 righties, when the ball's in the middle, which oftentimes the ball will come through the middle, he has to use a 2-handed backhand or a 1-handed backhand, which is just a more difficult shot. We have this advantage, so we want to use this advantage. Another reason it's hard to play against a lefty-righty combo like Tanner and I is on our 4th shot. So as a reminder, Zach hits a serve, that's the first, Tanner returns it, that's the second, Zach hits his 3rd shot, and this right here is the 4th shot. So when you have a lefty-righty combo, this makes life a lot easier on the 4th shot. Here's why. As Tanner hits the return, catch that ball, Zach. As Zach goes to hit his 3rd shot, I can get really big. Oftentimes, players are gonna hit the ball at the person who's moving in. If I have my forehand in the middle here, then I can cover Tanner and I can partner protect until he comes in. On the flip side, if Will hits a serve to me, right, and I hit a return, pause. Tanner with his left hand can partner protect for me until I move up. Something that can still happen with a right-handed player on the right side, but it's a lot easier when you have a lefty in the middle because he can cover for me until I get here. Now, it's okay to go over the midline. He is helping me out. I would rather Tanner come all the way over and help me on my way in, especially if he's a lefty. What oftentimes happens, Tanner just stays on his side, I return the ball, and then Will drives it at me, at my feet. Great ball. Tanner could have helped me out, but instead I'm the one that had to take the tough shot, and then he looks at me like, dude, you suck. And I'm like, but you could have helped. What do you find hard when you're playing against that scenario?
Yeah, so when you're playing normally against 2 righties, it's good to drop in the middle of the court because you can find somebody's backhand.
Yeah.
But when you're playing against a lefty-righty, the middle of the court is hot per se, meaning there's always going to be a forehand there.
Yeah.
So when I play against a lefty-righty, I actually like to drop the ball out wide, so you're targeting their backhands instead.
Hey, quick interruption. If you're enjoying this video and you're the type of player who loves this game, but maybe you're struggling and you're not improving as fast as you'd like, check out my new online pickleball school. It's called ThatPickleballSchool. It's for obsessed players who want to learn how to play more strategically, build a stronger mental game, and develop a real confidence that doesn't crumble under pressure. Inside, you'll find a growing library of exclusive videos you can go through anytime, anywhere, and you'll also be able to join a community of like-minded people going through a very similar journey to you. And lastly, this is a place that you can come to ask questions and get them answered from me and my team. So at the end of the video, head over to ThatPickleballSchool.com to join today. Now, let's get back to the video. So here's the 3rd reason it's hard to play against a duo like Tanner and I. We have good coverage here in the middle. If you have 2 righties, now his middle coverage is not as forceful, it's not as powerful. Also, he doesn't have as great of length. And so often what happens when you have 2 righties is if I hit the ball to Zach and he goes to speed it up, often in this situation, I believe this is the hardest speed up in pickleball to cover, especially if you're playing a righty-righty, because we have a right-hander with a wing forehand, meaning he's hitting a forehand on the sideline of the court, which means he could take the ball up the line, right? Boom, when I have to cover that. And then he could also take the ball, like not necessarily through the middle, but into this chicken wing area, right? So I kind of have to cover that. But the moment I get someone like TT on my team, I practice this a lot. But now I have Tanner, and so I have to trust his lefty. And so in this situation, we have to use the ability to have 2 forehands in the middle. And when Zach gets some type of dead dink, which will occasionally happen, I just have to trust my line coverage, and I just gotta trust that TT's right there. That's more forceful than a backhand. So like if Will goes to speed up here, I can come here, and I can fully anticipate, and you can just sit on your very best counter. I think we struggle the most when we don't fully trust the coverage we're supposed to have when we're supposed to have it.
Right.
Here's the next reason we're tough to play against. We have the ability to Erne on both sides, okay? It's much more difficult for a righty to Erne on the right side. It's possible, but it's easier when we have a lefty. So for example, when Tanner notices I've hit a wide dink out here, he makes that read, and he can go Erne. That's number 1, okay? when I notice that Tanner hits a wide dink to Zach, boom, I can go and Erne on this side. And so our ability to be a righty-lefty makes that scenario very difficult.
So I also think that if you show early in a match that you're able to Erne, especially off both sides,
yeah,
it's a threat to your opponents because now the short is shrunk by, say, like 2 feet on each side. So there's a full court, but now it's like this.
Yeah.
So now they can't dink out here, or if they do, they know they might get Erned, so they're more timid. So it takes their aggressive game and turns it almost a little more defensive from being able to Erne off both sides.
So here's the next reason it's hard to play against a righty-lefty. ATP Cleanup Coverage. So let's say that Will gives me a dink way out wide, okay? And it's wide enough for me to ATP it. Boom. Okay, boom. That's good. So the moment I go to ATP, you see what Zach does. He goes to his ATP coverage, okay? The moment I hit it, Zach's probably not gonna get very aggressive, and Tanner knows as a lefty, he can come over, close down space, okay? Boom, and he can look to clean up. If it's a righty-righty in the situation, and Tanner comes to clean up, again, it's a decent shot, but it's not gonna have as much power and close out ability as if when he's a lefty. So we have to use that advantage. To tie back to Ernie's, if I go for an Erne, and let's say that I don't actually hit a perfect Erne, having a lefty being able to slide over to the middle and clean up is another huge advantage that righties don't often use as much because they're just not capable of it. The next reason is opponents just forget you have a lefty on your team.
This is at the ATP Dallas Open, and right off the bat, you can see that I forget that Tanner's lefty. His chicken wings on his left side, his left hip, and I aim for his right hip. He's able to hit a pretty strong backhand counter.
That exactly, but the number one example that comes to my mind is if we're at the net dinking, and let's say I hit an aggressive dink that way, right?
Yeah.
So I lean in with this forehand here. Usually, if I'm a righty, this is a safe spot, because if you get the ball to bounce, I don't really have much offense here. But ball up, that normally would never get sped up, and it catches people way off guard.
What is your recommendation for if I get caught off balance playing against a lefty? Like, where should I put the ball?
Yeah, so the best spot to go, I think, is instead of here, which is usually good, you want it to be like here, which is a little bit of a gray area where I have to flip to the paddle here.
So you're saying there?
That's the spot.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
That's interesting. I've thought about this for a long time, and I've never had like a perfect answer, because I've actually thought a lot of times I would go back wide, right? Which is like a harder dink,
right?
Like being off balance, because if he's got a good flick, he can lean in,
right?
But I've always been kind of scared to go back line,
right?
Just because I'm like, well, you might Erne me. So you're saying is like it's almost in between that spot, maybe towards your left foot,
right,
or middle of your stance,
right?
Go ahead. And so it's here. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's the spot.
All right, well, I just learned something. Another reason it's hard to play against a righty-lefty is because lefties can hit certain shots just from different angles that righties can't quite hit. So like a lot of times the ball comes back here, pause right there, okay? So most people in this scenario, like basic 101 would be like hit it at the player running in.
Right.
And even earlier you said you like to hit it at Zach's backhand right there, which is a good spot. But like if you're playing a good team, they're gonna adjust and they're gonna figure things out. And so an observation I've made that I find hard to play against at times is the inside in forehand.
Yeah.
My perspective, and add on to this, is that's a tough read because one, we know Will partner protect. Zach's running in, Will's gonna partner protect, and Will has a good forehand, but his backhand's weaker. And so it's kind of like an awkward down the line ball, but like, I don't know, how much do you use that?
Yeah, that shot's super effective because when I pull it inside in, like we're saying, if Will hits it with his backhand, it either filters right to your forehand, or if he tries to chip it down the line, it might pop up where I can crash in behind it.
Right, probably even safer than hitting it to the middle at times.
Yes.
Because if you hit it to the middle, every time, so if Will's smart, he'll move over, and if I go to crash, right, maybe that was a little exaggerated, of course, but if I was looking middle, like I got two options. I gotta go middle, I gotta go here, but sometimes when the ball's over there, it's like all I have to think about is what's in front of my head.
Exactly.
Thanks for watching that video. Where can everybody find your channel?
I'm on all social media at Tanner.Pickleball.